Hello everybody, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to Jimmy Does Knitting. I am an expat here living in Amsterdam, and this is where I talk about a knitting topic that is relevant in my life at the moment. It's not your typical podcast format, usually it's a bit shorter, but we get into it, we talk about all the things, and yeah, excited to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe, and do all of the things. Information for everything will be down below in the box. Yarn, patterns, links to patterns, notes, all of that fun stuff. So I like to just get into it and we can go from there. I have a ton of stuff over here. It's wonderful. I'm very excited and I'm so proud to show you my first pattern. So I finally did it. I launched the pattern. I accidentally launched it. This is our Jimmy Does Diamonds Cowl. I didn't mean to launch it quite then, but I released this last week by accident. I tried to upload it to Ravelry, and then it just it immediately uploaded. I didn't realize that it just went up. I thought that I could time it out and stuff. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I have no idea what it is. So we have the Jimmy Does Diamonds Cowl live. I'm going to put one on and then we can go over, probably this one will show up better. What do we think? So this is a design that I came up with. I saw a sweater with this motif on it in one of my favorite cafes, Rerum in Amsterdam. Some dude was just wearing a commercial sweater with this motif, and I loved it. And I knew that I had to make it into my first design. The motif was, I think I had to figure it out. I finally figured it out, and I've made about, 5 or 6 of these cowls. Started about last year, and I have not written it down or anything until now because I have been lazy and I've also been intimidated for this. It is a repeating pattern of twisted stitches, and it's pretty straightforward once you know how to read the knitting, but until you get there, it's whatever. I start with an Italian tubular bind off and cast and cast on. I don't really know which is which in this one because they look very similar. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever bind off and cast off method, cast on, bind off method, sorry about this, that you want, but I just think that these are nice. It is a worsted wool. It takes about 100 grams of each, almost exactly 100. So if you're concerned about not having enough yarn, have a little bit over 100 grams, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. So we cast on. We have our bind off, and then we have these twisted stitches. Now, what we do with the twisted stitches is we immediately go into this. Now, you can do the ribbing and whatever you want. It can be 1 by 1. I think it looks good with a twisted thing, with the twisted stitches, just because twisted, it's a thing. And I like it. And then you go to the motif, you do 3 patterns, and then you bind off. It is fairly straightforward in terms of construction. It's just about how to do those twisted stitches. Now, these are, I'm going to move a little closer so I can just show this up and you can marvel at it. They are right-leaning twists and left-leaning twists. So they're basically a 1 by 1 cable. And I've started doing some tutorials, especially with this one. I put the tutorial for the twisted stitches public on my channel. We have a right-leaning twist, we have a left-leaning twist. I show you how to do it. It's not the most profesh setup because I just don't have the money to buy all that stuff. This is not making any money with anything. But I give you the information about how to do the twist. It's also written down in the pattern, and there's a chart and everything. So you should be well equipped for making this. And yeah, you just pick a 16-inch circular needle. I do it 5 millimeters. I believe that's a US 8. And you go round and around and around with the pattern motif, and then you bind off after 3 things. Now, you can make this wider, you could make it shorter, you could make it longer, whatever you want to suit your needs. Each motif is about 2 inches or like 5 centimeters. And so you can cast on an extra number of stitches for the motif and then make it like that. It's pretty easy to modify to your own length and stuff. All of the details of the measurements are in the pattern or on the Ravelry page for it. So go and check it out. Currently there is a sale on this and the next pattern, which is 50% off. I don't know what to charge for these things. It's clearly not about the money. But yeah, I have a 50% off until October 22nd, 2023. So depending on when you're watching this, you may or may not see it. But go ahead, take advantage. It's like $2, I think is what I'm charging with the 50% off. So like, just go buy it. It's like no money. It's wonderful. Favorite it, like it, do all the things. Right now it's only on Ravelry. I don't know how to post other places. If I have more interests, maybe. I don't really know. I don't have a big following, and we'll see. Yarn. As I said, any worsted weight yarn, about 100 grams of it is what you're going to need. It's almost exactly 100 grams. This is We Are Knitters Merifine in Ochre. So that's the one that I did for this. I did this one in Blue Sky Fibers, Woolstock, Worsted, and Gray Harbor. I have that one here. That's what it looks like. I have 150. This one is so lightly spun that I got 150 gram skein of it. And I've done 2 hats and a cowl out of this. And it's still quite a lot. So I was really quite impressed with this, the yardage that you get for this. So for 150 grams, you get 370 yards, 338 meters. And let's see, it's fine Highland wool is what that is. This is, I think, Merino on the scarf. So that is the Jimmy Does, oh, and it's not the Jimmy Does Diamond. It's the Does Diamond Cowl. Did I say the name of it? It's the Does Diamond Cowl. The name, it came from Jimmy Does Knitting, right? Like, I want you to be part of the family and part of the experience. So Jimmy does this, Jimmy does that. And now you can be part of that and you can do diamonds for this. You can be, I don't know, Chris does Diamonds Cowl. You're part of the family. You're part of the group. You have your own thing and it's meant to be fun and a little silly with the name, but it's on brand, it works, and I think that it would be good to get, like, you know, your name in the title of something. So that was the thought behind the name of it. And yes, so go to Ravelry, the Jimmy Does Diamonds Cowl, go and get it. Now, pattern number 2 that I'm releasing, which should be released on the day of this video because that's when I wanted to release these things. It's still going to be 50% off. It's going to be on Ravelry. The links are going to be below, so go and get it. I made matching hats. Now this is a little bit more complicated. This is released second because it took a little bit more math to figure it out. But it's the Does Diamonds hat, and it's the same motif. It has this really cool, like, swirl at the top, which was difficult to figure out how to tell you to knit and everything. There is a video that comes with the pattern that walks you through all of the steps on this. So if you get confused, you can go and reference that. It's also written in the pattern, but I'm more of a visual learner, and I think that I explain it pretty well in the video and the different techniques that you need to do. You need to do something a little bit different and think about it, but hopefully it's all clear. I'm going to admit I did not have a tech editor go through this because I've made like $10 on the pattern sales so far, so I'm not going to hire a tech editor to, like, essentially lose money on this. And it's a hat and it's a cowl. Look, we can do other versions. I can put some stuff out. It's not a garment. It needs to just, like, in general, make sense. Anyway, there are 2 versions of the hat that I have put up. One is this full-size version. And what's really cool about this is you do a twisted purl. So on the wrong side, when you hold it up, it's the twisted stitch on the outside. So there's a folded brim one with the twisted pearl to make the twist stitch. And then there's also another version which is shorter, and I have it so you do the knit stitch twisted and you don't fold the rim. I don't have a sample of it, but I wrote it into the pattern just in case if somebody wants to not knit as much or doesn't want to twist or purl, whatever works for you. I wanted to give you that option to modify it. And yeah, so we have a matching hat. This one's also in the blue sky fibers. This one I think is beautiful. I did a really short brim on this by accident, but this is like my first one that I made. And this is the accompanying fall one. Now I did this in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, which if you've not had this one, it's really nice. So this is the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in Rust. It's 100% merino, although I would say that this is not like the finest merino I've ever worked with, but it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful yarn. The colors are great. It is 125 meters for 50 grams. And you need more than one. I think it's like 1.5-ish balls of the heavy merino for the hat. Look at this. I just keep on looking at myself. It's really nice. So, yeah, that's my first pattern launches. Hat, cowl, matchy, matchy, matchy. And, yeah, I'm really excited about it. Tell your friends, post on social media, all this stuff. Did I say what this name was? It's the Jimmy Does Diamonds, not the Jimmy. It's the Does Diamonds hats. This is my Jimmy Does Diamonds version and the Does Diamonds cowl. So, very, very exciting. We have that, you know, for the pictures, we have a set out of the blue sky fibers. If you want to be more matchy-matchy, you can do them individually. You can do whatever you want, but I'm really proud of this. I finally got off my tuckus so we could launch something, and I think that this is a good representation. I love some texture. I love something a little bit different than what you typically do. I would say that these are not beginner patterns. I assume a bit of knitting knowledge from my readers. So if you need a hand-held pattern, this is not going to be yours, but I'm trying to make the instructions super clear. I mean, just the technique alone is, you know, like it's not stockinette in the round, but it's also not like super complicated. And it's all charted out, and I've written out the instructions to the chart, so you should be all right if you follow everything. There's a thing where the markers move a little bit, but you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And because the pattern is so pronounced, you can learn to read your work with all of this, and you can get a lot of stuff done. So this is very exciting, and I'm really hope that you will buy this and knit it up and have these beautiful hat and cowl combinations, or one or the other. Doesn't matter to me. Just enjoy the pattern and go for it. There is some other stuff that I'm going to be bringing up, and we'll see. I do like the idea of making like sets of things. For some reason that really like works for my mojo. We'll see what goes and what doesn't go. I have a couple of patterns I'm like writing up. I just need to like get them out. And well, this will be the first of many. We're starting small. We're going to go big. We need to do some sweaters, right? This is Jimmy Does Knitting. We need all the texture. I need the sweaters. I need to figure it out. That's a bit more intimidating because I cannot figure out how to grade, and I do not have a tech editor. But I can make a sweater, and so I'm assuming that I can make it in different sizes, and we will be on that journey together. Speaking about sweaters, I'm going to take this off. It's a bit hot. Ooh, swoosh. I am wearing my Guernsey that I designed myself. It's a pattern based off of like Dutch fishing Guernseys back in the day. It resembles something from Europe. I used Rowan felted tweed held with a Holst super soft and black. I have a video going about the sweater a little bit more in depth. At first I wanted to make it a bit more traditional, but then I have another video where I have modified it so the hem is a little bit cleaner and neater and more wearable for me. I love this sweater. It's a bit hot to be wearing it at the moment because climate change is real. You can really feel it here in the Netherlands. I'm gonna wear this for now, just so you can keep marveling at the beauty and my unruly hair. Pattern launches, first order of business. Now, second thing is gift knitting. This is how I approach gift knitting, and then you can disagree with me or not. I tend to knit what I want to knit, and then if there's a recipient in mind, then they get something. If there's not, then they not. Like, I don't do a holiday where I have to make like 20 socks for like 8 different people or whatever. It's like, when it comes, and like, if the person fits the project and they all want it and stuff, then it's good. Sometimes I just make stuff and then I give it away. And so there's a bit of both with what's happening here. The biggest one. Let me show you the Obba sweater I have made for my mother. So this is it. It is complete. It is a beast. This was more complicated than it needed to be, but here we are, and I think it's going to be wonderful, and she'll super, super, super enjoy it. So this is the Obba sweater by Aegyoknit, and it's kind of the Obba sweater, it's kind of not. I will tell you all about it. Let me walk through this. The contrast color really was supposed to be for the neck and cuff, but my mom is a blue lady. Much like I am a black lady, she is a blue lady. So we wanted to get her some blues and a little bit of fun with some color work. At the beginning of the year, she asked me for a color work, all over color work sweater. And I wasn't so much into color work back then. It's a little bit like interesting stock and net, so I'm like a little bit more into it these days, let's say. But I was like, we will do this, but I get to explore fibers if I do this. So let's talk about the yarn. The blue is the Gilliat by Rerum Natura in the color Nuit. It's this. And then the other color is in this bag. Is this is attached to something, but it's Holst Cielo. So the Holst Cielo is a blown yarn, which means they have a chain neck construction, and inside they like shove 42% alpaca, 42% fine wool, and then polyamide, I'm assuming, is the binder. This is in the color Grannie. It's 50 grams, 125 meters per 50 grams. It's super light, super fluffy, all of the things. The Gilliat is 100% wool. It's 250 meters per 100 grams, and these are basically worsted weight. This is like 19 to 17 stitches per 10 centimeters, 4 inches. I really like the yarn. I really like the yarns separately. I do not like the yarns together in this project. I think mostly the Cielo is not great for color work. As you can tell, it has this sort of, somebody described it as like a Japanese tie-dye technique. It's very hard to get very consistent stitches with this stuff. And because it's so, both the stitch pattern and the yarn, like it is difficult to like create even tension through it. I think that if you had 100% wool, like if I went through a different color of the Gilliat, that I would have much more even color work. That being said, this thing is going to be super, super warm, and my mother is going to love it. It's very much her style, her colors, her baby boy made it for her, so it's going to go over well. There is, this is what I did, which was not the pattern, but this is what I did. I did the neck is done, there's short row shaping in the neck, it's not in the color work. And then I basically followed the pattern until a yoke depth that my mom would like. I'm not sure if it was the same yoke depth as on the pattern, but I did about like 8 inches, 20 centimeters. And then I went totally off piece. So the pattern, I will criticize, it's meant for like very specific body types and very specific ease. The smallest amount of ease, well, not ease, but like the smallest version is like 45 inches. I don't know what that is in centimeters. This is probably like 42, and I have a little bit of positive ease. I have a decent amount of positive ease with this sweater. So imagine even bigger, and that's the smallest size. And then they have 2 other sizes beyond that. It works well with the motif that she's going for, but for my mother, this was not going to work. So we did a lot of math and some educated guesses. I blocked the yoke after it was done to make sure that I get a stitch count. It was not on gauge for what the pattern was. I was off because of the yarn and stuff. I would not recommend using, you know, these blown yarns or whatever for color work. The inside is super warm. It's just like an alpaca lining. It's so thick. It's going to be beautiful, but it's super warm. Anyway, I basically mathed out the sleeves so that they were the length she wanted, and they had gradual decreases to the cuff size that she wanted. There is this lovely detail that I kept for the, you can see it here, for the seam almost, so the patterns don't like, they hit up against each other, but then they don't. And I thought that was really nice. I kept that under the underarm and the side seams. And then same thing with the body is I cast on a different amount of stitches for under the underarm, and then I reduced in the body, I think like 4 stitches every 4 inches. And then I did the hem and the cuffs. I think I just did like 12 rounds of ribbing and an Italian bind off for each. I hope that's not giving anything away. That's not written in the pattern. Those are just the modifications that I did. If you wanted something similar without doing all the math that I did, which probably would have been easier, is I think the Flex pullover by Tin Can Knits is a free pattern, and it has a ton of sizes, a huge range. It's in worsted weight, and you could kind of use those numbers to put onto this. I thought about doing that, but then I just ended up calculating it myself. This one, I think, turned out lovely. My mother will enjoy it. I would not, it was just too much math. I would not use the right yarn. I would not use this yarn again. In this combination, I think the yarn is beautiful, but not for this project, if that makes sense. And, yeah, I mean, there was this had to go on timeout a couple of times and then come back and then timeout and come back. Like, just don't look too close at this. It's not my masterpiece, but it's made with love. I think I got to explore a new fiber, and she gets her all over color work, super warm jumper. And I'm pretty sure she'll love it. What I was going to do, we're going to take a quick sidetrack, is I originally bought unspun for this. This is the Manchalopis Azul, and with the way I color work and this pattern and all of it, I'm gonna say this is like a terrible idea. Also, my mom has very sensitive skin, and unspun wool right next to the skin. I don't think that it was going to work. It's a beautiful fiber. It's not. I went wrong twice with this, basically, in terms of choosing the thing, but that's what I wanted out of it. I wanted to work with new fibers and stuff. What is an appropriate use for this fiber, for the Grannie, for the blown fiber, is what I'm doing with the leftovers. So, as some of you may know, I am terrible at trying to figure out how much yarn to buy. I always overbuy. I'd rather have too much than too little, but now my stash is getting big. Now, the Gilliat was really nice because I bought that locally at Stephen & Penelope, and one thing that is great is you can return and you can like get store credit, and because it's my local yarn store, that's fantastic. So I returned 2 skeins and I bought something else, which I will discuss in the next episode for a very, very special project. It was very expensive, so I'm glad I got to return some skeins to like exchange for that. But I bought the Holst, the Cielo, online, and I had 3.5 extra balls. So we are making the Sophie Shawl, the Sophie Shawl with the leftovers. And I've just started decreasing. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you've all seen this, you know what happens. It's like a garter stitch with an I-cord, and you just go around and around. This is what this Grannie Cielo stuff is made for. Like, you want this around your neck. It's so soft, so warm. The way that it works in a garter stitch fabric, it's so big and so stretchy and puffy. You know, alpaca doesn't have a great amount of stretch, but this does, and it's going to be warm and wonderful on somebody's neck. I had enough to make a scarf, right? So I way over ordered. I probably could have saved about 30 euros, 40 euros or something, but I can't return it. I'm just going to make something with it. So I kind of am following the pattern, kind of not. What's happening is I divided the yarn in two. So I took whatever my leftovers were. I weighed it out, half in one bag, half in another bag, put it in the project bag. And I followed the pattern and I knit up to, half, which I think is here-ish. And then I decreasing the other half. It's not rocket science. It's pseudo following the pattern, pseudo not. Another thing what I did is I used different needles than recommended, which I think is totally appropriate for something like this. This, I know, garter stitch is floofy, squishy, big. And this yarn can actually, I think they recommend a 5mm needle for it. It's best if I probably hold it like this. But it also can really go up to probably like a 7mm and not look so bad because it's all, fluff, fluff, fluff. So what I ended up doing is I took a 6mm needle, which I believe is a US 10, I've learned, and did that with this. So this is my Sophie scarf. It's a great use to bust through my stash. I had enough of this. It's really good for the neck. It's an easy knit. It's like a mindless knit, which is perfect because I have some pretty challenging projects going around in the background. And I get to use the rest of my yarn and I get to knit with it in the way it's intended. So yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to see this again because it's a Sophie scarf, right? Like, it's a Sophie scarf, and that's that. Did I mention tutorials? I think I did. I think I said I have tutorials for this, but what I'm planning on doing, and you can give me feedback on this or not, is I think I'm a pretty good teacher, but I have a really shit setup. But I've been, like, as I've been doing a technique, especially as it relates to patterns that I'm releasing, I'm sort of filming it and like putting it up on my YouTube. So there is like a podcast thing, and then there's some tutorials that go along with it. There's some generic tutorials that are there, and there are some that are more specific to the pattern. Like the hat has a whole step-by-step guide. I would like to do more of these, but like I need to buy a different tripod and some lighting and stuff. I can't afford that right now. Still very much unemployed. I went to go and get a job at a yarn store, and they were like, no, because we don't need somebody part-time. We want somebody full-time. And I was like, ugh, fine. But it is what it is. I will survive. But regardless, I'm not spending, 300 euros on like a new setup for tutorials. I'm certainly not going to buy new whatever. I mean, if this channel grows, I would love to get better lighting, especially because I work a lot in black. It's like we need some raking lights. Right now we have a ring light and like some natural light coming in. Get the Adobe suite, I think would be very useful, but it's also a subscription that I'm just like not paying for a month unless I like absolutely use it. But it would actually make the patterns a lot easier to write in my mind. when I was in architecture school, we're going on a tangent here, come with me. When I was in architecture school, for grad school, we had to do these giant books for like every, like there's a check-in at every like phase. So there are 3, and they were like 250 pages long, and like Illustrator, InDesign, boom, boom, boom. That's what I want to use for writing patterns and stuff. It's just an expense that I cannot justify at the moment. I don't have enough money coming in or use of it. Maybe one day, but at the moment, not. But yeah, I have aspirations, I have dreams, but I think this needs to hit a certain critical mass before I get there. I'm like sometimes hitting 200 views per this channel, sometimes not. And at the moment, like we're invested out into this point, and then once we start making a little zhuzh, making a little bit of money, then maybe we can do that. So tutorial spiel, pattern spiel. If you want to support me, give me a little bit more money to make these improvements, please buy my patterns on Ravelry. That would be wonderful. And they're on sale. I'm still going to say it. I've said it once. I'm going to say it twice. You will continue hearing me say that. Next gift. As I said, for my mom's sweater, I bought like 5 plates of this Manchalopis. It is Spain Spanish from the Manchega sheep, which also gives that lovely cheese, and it is an unspun wool. It is held double. Well, it's held double. It's wound double, and you just knit from it. This is my first time working with unspun, and that was a goal of mine for 2023. As I said, what I wanted to try something new. So I tried something new with that sweater and the scarf, and I wanted to do this. This is my first time unspun. It was to be very delicate. I'm not the most delicate person. So it was like, working with this was a learning experience, but you can just spit felt it together, which is really easy. So it's not like catastrophic when it breaks or anything like that. And it's not as rough as I thought it would be, and it's kind of enjoyable. Look, there are the people who are like unspun heroes, and they're just like, I love my Nuit and like everything this and everything that, and it has a purpose. I don't think it would be like my go-to for anything, but I don't know. Like, I think I'm always cold, so I think that like a sweater from Unspun would be quite nice, just like a boyfriend sweater. I do have plans for another Unspun thing, but in general, like, I'm okay with it. It's another tool. It's another type of yarn. Am I like super obsessed with it? No. Do I hate it? No. We're just fine together. But I wanted to use this. My stash as from overbuying, and 5 of these like big rolls is getting too big. So I needed to knit through some of it. It's the scarf, and hence this scarf. Now, this is huge for one. This is going to be gifted to my sister-in-law. She said that she wanted it. But let me like slowly unroll this in front of you as I speak. This is the Gaca scarf, Gaca, by Atelier Cliche, by Jean-Paul Cliche. He is a designer based in Montreal, and this is beautiful. It's unspun. It is a giant scarf. It is enormous, as you can tell by the fact that I'm still going. And it is so much fun to make. It's a fully charted pattern, and you just like go for it. I mean, it's like, I think 9 pages of charts, and then you have the whole thing. Anyway, it's this. I knit this up in less than a week. I was obsessed with it. I'm probably going to make another one of these because we all know I only wear black, but I have a thing with my neck being cold, which is part of the reason why I did this, is I love a cowl. In the winter, my neck needs to be warm, and this is warm. It is so much fun to make, and it's so beautiful. So clearly, I'm a fan of twisted stitches, and if you want a good way to learn how to do twisted stitches for this project, go look at the tutorials for the Does Diamonds Cowl. But also, the Does Diamonds Cowl would also be a good way to learn how to read your stitches, twisted stitches in your knitting, in order to make this. It has like a little diamond motif. It's a little bit more funky, cool than this one, but it's wonderful. I highly recommend this. It's taken everything in me not to go and get some Plutalopi because it's the only unspun in black that I could find, and like start this immediately. I'm not gonna do it, but yeah, I highly recommend this. It's beautiful. It's huge. I think it's like, I'm 6 foot, like 183, and this thing is like 1.5 times me. It's really quite large. And then let me unfortunately take this off, but like you get a lot of wrap for this, and it's so warm. If you have a sensitive neck, I know that this could probably not be the best for it, but like, ugh. I have one of those sleeping bag coats where it's just like floor length black puffer jacket, and then like with this underneath it, and like my Oslo hat or something, or maybe I make a Does Diamonds hat in black. I'm not really quite sure. Maybe I really like that. Anyway, with like a hand knit hat, and then like this, you can like absolutely encase yourself in wool, and it's fantastic. He has a version for worsted weight, a version for chunky weight. This is technically the worsted weight version. I'm in love. I really like this. The plan is, I've tried to see if I wanted to make another one of these or not, and the answer is yes, I do. I think the plan is a black Plutalopi, but hold it with a strand of mohair. I have like 3.5 balls of drops kid silk in black. I think that would be enough to do one of these with. The idea is hold it with mohair, gives a little bit of strength. I think that this is going to pill quite a bit because of the unspun yarn. So let's say, yeah, if I have a black one, they get one that is a little bit more solid and that I'll use a bunch. That's the plan. So that is the Gaca Shawl by Atelier Cliche. I'm going to take this off because I am warm. And then 2 more things to discuss, both with gift knits. I'm sorry, I have so much floof and fluff all up in my nose. We also had a Shiba that was visiting for 4 days, and his hair is everywhere still. He's a very old man. He's very grumpy. He's very stubborn, but he loves us. And his mom went to run a marathon in Inverness or something, and so he stayed with us. And I just have alpaca and unspun wool, and like I have some mohair downstairs that I'm working with, and Shiba hair, and it's just we've been vacuuming a lot. But my hair, you're seeing Jimmy. Your hair is completely unruly, and you look like an absolute unemployed bum. And I would say, yes, this is true. I have not been going to the barber as much because I have no one to look good for. Just you lovely people. But I don't see you, so if I look like a bit of a whatever with my hair, it's kind of what it is. But also, I wanted to give him this. He just had a baby, I think 2 weeks ago. So I have a haircut scheduled for next week when he's back finally. And I'm going to give him this. This is Anker sweater by Petite Knit. This is the newborn to 3 months. It is, I think, one of my favorite little baby knits. I did a little bit of modification. She wants to increase rows by a yarn over. I did it here for the collar, but then for the rest, I just did a make one. But the rest I knit to pattern. It's a cute little like baby sweater. Petite Knit does have good ones for children. I do think that my favorite baby sweater, this hair, is the Koishfan. That's my favorite one, but I've made a couple of these especially for little girls. I think it's really cute. And yeah, it also used up like almost the rest of this yarn that I bought. So I bought this yarn to swatch for, I had an idea for a scarf for a pom-pom magazine submission, and they were like, everything must be in yellow. So I went to a local store that sells like big box yarn, so this isn't like the best yarn or whatever. And I got 2 of these yellow ones, but I don't really like the yarn, and it's washable. So I was like, I could do a kid's sweater. It takes 2 seconds. I can give it to the parent. It's washable, and it will use up this yarn. This is Panduro Pure Sock. It's like a worsted weight yarn. Or it's like 75% wool, 25% polyamide. I'm not the biggest polyamide. I do prefer 100% natural fibers. But this is okay. I don't know if it's too itchy on a newborn's skin. It may be, it may not be. The kid can wear it, the kid cannot wear it. I'm not so precious about this. It's washable. I washed it in eucalypt, and I also put some lavender on this because I think this stuff doesn't smell great. But it used up the yarn. A little gift for the hairdresser when I go by next week, and I can present it to him. So this is, yeah, little baby Anker tee. There are a couple of kids in my life that I knit for, and it's nice to, it's like a good palette cleanser, especially because I love making sweaters. And I have a couple of patterns that I just sort of recycle through. And if I'm doing an order from this one online shop, I can get some like super cheap drops, super wash stuff, and then I can like get a sweater's quantity and make a sweater for a kid. And I find that that works well for me. Yeah, Anker sweater, petite knit in this yellow monstrosity, and it's for the barber's kid. And one final one that needs to go out this week because it's already late, but it's not my responsibility. It's Mr. Does Knitting's responsibility. Is this, which you've seen, this giant granny stripe. I'm not going to unroll it because I'll never get it back up. But it's this big granny stripe blanket that I made through like a bunch of old crochet yarn. It's mostly acrylic. It's all washable. It's for his friend Stevie for her birthday. And yeah, so this is also going out. So it's been a heavy, like, knit what I want to and send it out to people, get it out. I do need to pay a little bit more attention to my stash. It's just getting too big. There's, like, I buy stuff and I knit it up, but I just have so many leftovers that the stash is growing. I don't really buy stuff and then just have it. Like, I always have a specific project in mind, but I can't order quantities correctly. It's just not something that is within my capabilities as a human being. So the stash is getting a little bit bigger, which is, I don't know. But we're gonna work through some of it. I have some ideas. That Sophie scarf is one of it. If I get a new Gaca one that I can use all the black mohair I have a plan to use some of my Holst. I have a plan for a sweater maybe, but I need to figure out if I can figure out the math of it. The Does Diamonds sweater, I have a really cool idea. I have no idea if it's like mathable. And if it is mathable, if it's mathable for multiple sizes, just because of how the pattern goes and how it lays, I'm not entirely sure. But I have a ton of yarn, so I'm gonna make some swatches in that. Future, whatever, we'll see if we can figure that out. I guarantee you I will let you know if I can. I have this yellow yarn. It needs to be done in a yellow yarn. I don't know why. It does. It's been my vision. Is a sweater, a Does Diamond sweater in yellow yarn, and then I'll probably make another version in black for myself because that's what I like. Yeah. That is the gift section. That is my new patterns. It's all of the stuff. I thought it might be good to talk a little bit about life. I don't do that a tremendous amount on here. I like to try to keep it primarily to knitting, but like we'll go for some of this and see what I keep in and see what I don't. But I've been knitting a whole lot. I've been trying a bunch of things and I'm really getting through the projects, as you can tell. I've been posting every 2 weeks and like these things are going. I have 3 other projects downstairs. I have like a list of other things. So knitting has been taking up a lot of my time and I need to write these things down and get them out because I have a couple patterns that I need to release. They're in my head. There are samples made. They're just sitting. I haven't even talked about them. So I just need to get it out. Yeah, so there's that. Vrijdagen, which is knitting days, is like the unravel of the Netherlands, and that's happening this weekend. So I'm going to take a train to Zwolle and go and see what that is about. I'm expecting it to be very Dutch countryside, and like I don't know what to expect. But I have my eyes on some things. Well, not my eyes, but like if I find this, I'm gonna buy it, sort of thing. So one is the Plutalopi in black or unspun in general for a new Gaca Shawl. If there are any special undyed wools, I really want to buy like a sweater's quantity. I'm a big fan of different fibers and like undyed and natural. That's like one thing that I really like to explore with my knitting, and I'm doing it in a project right now. So I really like the idea of undyed, or, you know, there are a couple companies that I'm really seeing that I can't import easily. Of just like breed specific sheep or natural wools or something like that. I know Retrosaria Rosa Pumar, if you go on their website, they have a bunch of that stuff from Portugal and it's super affordable and I love their yarns. Go check them out if you want to do that. Another thing is like a big thing for me today is I love tattoos. I have a bunch of tattoos and I need to get my tootsies touched up. So I'm gonna go to the tattoo artist and talk to her today about my feet, essentially. And we're gonna get those all fixed up and good to go, and then that's it. If you're ever considering getting a foot tattoo, I would highly recommend against it. The only reason why I'm going back is because I do need to touch up, and like this is gonna be on my body for forever. And so like one more time, machine, blast it over, like done, 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 and then no more feet. Yeah. So that's exciting. I might get another little tattoo from her. I really like her stuff, but yeah, the feet need some attention. I'm finished with my traveling. The travels this summer were real. We spent 2 weeks in America, 2 weeks in the south of France, and then we had a long weekend in Prague. And it was all wonderful. It's been very family oriented. We were very privileged to like have them be fairly economical trips because the parents were all paying for a lot of things. So especially considering my economical situation at the moment, it was really nice. You know, we got private tours of libraries and like stayed in a villa and like rode horses, or, you know, spent some time on the lake and drank, you know, sparkling water and all this stuff. So it's been really good and really nice, and we feel very fortunate for all of that. And now that summer's over, like I feel the need to get my butt in gear a little bit. So that means a bit more knitting stuff, have some purpose and stuff. Like I do a lot of Mysore, so like I've been avoiding the 6:30 a.m. Mysore, but I bought a membership. Like I need to start going to Mysore in the mornings again instead of just pushing it off. Anyway, don't know if that made sense. Don't know how much I kept in, but thank you all for being here on this journey with me. Very excited about everything. Go and buy your cowls. Go and buy your hats. Happy knitting. Tag me on Instagram. Use the hashtag for everything. I'm following the hashtags, and I will see you guys in 2 more weeks. We have some different and fun stuff planned for that episode because I've already moved on to a bunch of other things. And yeah, so I'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining. Goodbye.